to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be my October wrap up. So this is going to be my reading stats for October and the books that I read in the second half of the month. If you want to see the books that I read in the first half of October, I will leave a link down below to my mid-month wrap up where I obviously talk about the books that I read in the first half. So I'm just going to dive straight into the reading stats. So October, I did have a good reading month for October, and there's a couple of reasons why. Firstly, I read a bunch of novellas, which you'll have seen my previous videos for the review of the Scared Sexy collection and also my Halloween novellas video. So I read quite a lot of short books, so I was able to get through quite a lot. And also I had a week off work, so I was able to read, a bit more than usual as well during that week. So straight into the stats, I read a total of 38 books in the month of October, but as I said, a lot of them are novellas. And I break that down into the different subgenres. So I read 3 contemporary romances, 2 small town romances, 2 sports romances, 1 mystery thriller, 1 horror, 12 fantasy, 15 novellas and 2 just general fiction books. Normally, obviously within the novellas, they would fit into different categories as well, but I decided to group them together because I think it's important to kind of show those, as that is a large portion of why I read so much. Then I read 12 physical books, 16 audiobooks and 10 ebooks. I really made use of my Kindle in October, and I really want to continue to make use of it because sometimes my Kindle will sit for months without being used, and then other months I use it a lot, so I'm trying to get a bit better at using it a bit more consistently. Then in terms of ratings, I had 5 2 stars, 1 2.5 stars, 11 3 stars, 5 3.5 stars, 11 4 stars, 2 4.5 stars and 3 5 stars. So pretty happy with that. Obviously there were a few 2 stars in there, a few more than normal, but that's because a few of the novellas that I read I gave 2 stars to. And then this month I actually read more new to me authors. So I read 22 new to me authors and 16 previously read authors. Usually that figure's kind of the other way around. Usually I've read more previously read authors than new authors, but I read, as I say, because of the novellas, I read a lot of new authors, which was really good. Then 18 of those books were under 300 pages. 15 were between 300 and 499 and 5 were 500 pages or more. As I've read a lot more fantasy this month, there is a lot more longer books as well. Kind of balanced out with the shorter books that I read. So now to dive into the books. So in the second half of the month, I actually only read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books in the second half of the month. So a lot of the books in the second half of the month were a lot of the longer ones. So we'll dive straight into those. So first book I listened to on audio, and that was Big Witch Energy by Molly Harper, which is book 2 in the Starfall Point series. And I gave this one 3.5 stars. I did enjoy this more than the first book. But these ones are just kind of fun, easy reads. They are a paranormal romance series, obviously following a group of witches. And it is set on this small island, so it has small town vibes. And they, as I say, there are 3 witches that are in this coven. They discover in the first book that they have magical powers, and part of their magical powers enables them to see ghosts. And in this one, it is a second chance romance between Caroline and Ben. They've obviously lived on the island when they were younger. Ben moved away, but part of the witchy lore in this book means that the witches are kind of tied to the island, so they can't leave for long periods of time. And Ben has come back to Starfall Point, and obviously they rekindle their relationship. This series, I would say, there is romance in there, but that's not necessarily the main plot. There is more of the plot surrounding the kind of witchiness, and in this one they are trying to discover there is a ghost that appears to them, and they are trying to solve a old murder that happened, years ago, and the ghost comes to them and they are trying to solve that. So there is a mystery element to this series as well, and I had a good time reading this. It's a lot of fun. The audiobooks are really good, and yeah, it's a fun, easy read, relatively quick. The audiobook was just shy of 10 hours, but it did fly by really quickly. Then I read Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh, or I listened to the audiobook, I should say, and this is book 4 in the Boys of Tommen series, and I really enjoyed this one and gave this one 5 stars. So this one is the conclusion of Joey and Aoife's story. We obviously see Joey and Aoife in the earlier books, the Binding 13 and Keeping 13, and Saving Six is the first book in this duet following these characters, and this kind of continues on. Joey obviously is struggling with drug addiction throughout these 2 books, and we really kind of see that struggle. In this one, I can't remember if we know at the end of Saving Six, but Aoife ends up getting pregnant, and we kind of see their journey. Obviously she's still at school, and how that kind of impacts their relationship, and with obviously Joey's struggles. We obviously know some of the events that happen to Joey's family from the first duet, and there is overlap with the events of the first duet in this one. So I did enjoy this one, but I would say if you read them back to back, it could feel a little bit repetitive, because, as I say, some of the events we do see from obviously Shannon's point of view in the first duet, but I've left kind of enough time in between them that didn't bother me. So I do really enjoy this series, and I am looking forward to continuing on. I think the audiobooks are definitely the way to go with these. I think the audiobooks are great, and I'm looking forward to continuing on. But yeah, definitely recommend it. I do think this is worth the hype. Then I read Love Arranged by Lauren Asher, and this is book 3 in the Lakefront Billionaires series, and the final one in the series. And I liked this one and gave it 4.5 stars. It's not as good as the previous 2 books in my opinion, but I did still have a good time. So this one follows Lorenzo and Lily, and this is a fake dating, fake engagement situation. So Lorenzo is running for mayor in the small town, and to kind of boost his image, he needs a wife or girlfriend, and Lily ends up being that person for him, and they end up fake dating. And Lily has her own reasons for wanting Lorenzo to be mayor. She doesn't want his opponent to become mayor because he wants to kind of get rid of her small business, and Lorenzo also has his own reasons for not wanting his opponent to become mayor, but I won't go into those because I feel like that might be a little bit of a spoiler. But they obviously end up developing real feelings for one another, and Lorenzo definitely falls first in this one. He does a lot of things for Lily. He even goes as far to get a dog for her because she wants, she falls in love with this dog at the kind of rescue centre, and he actually goes and adopts it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, but as I say, it isn't my favourite in the series. It did take me a little while to get into this one. Lauren Asher's books are pretty chunky, and I feel like there was a lot of build up, and it took a long time to kind of get to the romance, and because there was a lot of setup to this one, which is why I gave it a slightly lower rating. But overall, I would recommend this series, and I am really glad that I have finally read that one. Then I read Throne of the Fallen by Kerri Maniscalco, which is book 1 in the Prince of Sin series, and I gave this one 4 stars. I thought this was a really good introduction to the series. This series is set in the same world as the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which I haven't actually read, but I think you can go into this one without having read that series. This one is a adult romantasy, whereas the Kingdom of the Wicked series is young adult, and in this one we are following Camilla and Envy. So this series is going to follow the characters of the 7 Deadly Sins. So this one was Envy's story, and it has a game that Envy is taking part in, and we see him taking part in this game at the beginning of the book. The rules are a bit unclear when we start the book, but he is participating in this game, and this game leads him to Camilla, and she has to paint this picture for him, and she has her own secrets which get slowly revealed, and obviously there is a romance between Envy and Camilla, and I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a good introduction to the series. This is definitely on the spicier side as well. Obviously I can't compare it to her young adult series because I've not read it yet, although I have picked up the first book from the library to check out. But yeah, I had a good time reading this one. Would definitely recommend. There's a lot of things going on in here, which is why I gave it 4 stars, because I feel like the world could have been developed a little bit more. We have vampires, fae, a magic system going on, and I feel like more of it could have been explained. And perhaps if you've read the first book in her first series, Kingdom of the Wicked series, perhaps I might have got more out of it, but overall I had a good time reading it. I do plan to continue on with this series. Then I read, it was actually a reread for me, but I reread A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. This is obviously an extremely popular book, and I read this back when it came out in 2015, or I think it might have come out in 2014 perhaps. Oh no, it came out in 2015, and that's when I read it. And I gave it 5 stars at the time, and I'm giving it 5 stars again upon reread. I had a good time reading this. This is obviously the first book in the series. It's a very popular series, so you probably already know about it already, but we follow Feyre, and she is she's living quite a difficult life. She is having to provide for her family, and she goes out hunting in the woods and ends up killing a fae in error, and then she ends up getting taken into the fae world by Tamlin. I don't want to say too much more about it because, as I say, I feel like most people have probably read this at this point, because it is, 10 years old now, and I had a good time with this one. There's a couple of reasons I wanted to reread it. One, I'm planning a video centering around some rereads, and 2, I never actually continued on with the series. I read the first 3 books, but now there is 2 other books that have since been released, but I didn't continue on with that series, and I do want to, because I know how much the series is loved. But in order for me to do that, I need to reread the first 3 books. And I feel like maybe I might enjoy them more, because I know I think book 2 I gave 5 stars to, but by book 3 I'd kind of fallen out of love with fantasy, so I didn't rate that as highly, so I'm interested to kind of see how I rate it kind of the second time around. But yeah, definitely would recommend this series if you are looking for a fantasy series, if by chance you haven't read this series yet. Then I read On Wings of Blood by Briar Boleyn, and this is book 1 in the Blood Wing Academy series, and I really enjoyed this one and gave it 5 stars. I'm very much interested to continue on with this series. This one we follow Medra and Blake, and Medra comes into this world of vampires. I think Briar Boleyn's previous series kind of sets up this series, but you can go into this without having read that. But Medra gets taken into this world of vampires, and they have this academy where vampires go to kind of study like combat and healing and all sorts of things, and she kind of gets thrown into this world, and as part of that she ends up getting kind of betrothed to Blake. She ends up becoming his consort, and it kind of all goes from there. This is definitely a darker romance, and it is a bully romance as well. There are definitely some dark moments in here, so definitely check your trigger warnings. The author does mention them at the beginning of the book. I had a really good time reading this, and I'm definitely keen to continue on with this series and see how this romance develops between Medra and Blake, because it's definitely, I would say, a slow burn romance. There are moments in this book, but I suspect over time that will develop in future books. I do have a reading vlog featuring the next few books, and this one that I've just talked about, so that will be coming soon, and I go into kind of more detail in that video. Then we have The Society for Soulless Girls by Laura Stephen, which I listened to on audio. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This was a solid read, but I do think there were things that could have been better. This one is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde reimagining. And we are following two female characters who go to this college, and it's definitely got dark academia vibes. There is some mysterious things going on at the college. Years ago, these girls were murdered or ended up dead, and so the college closed, but we are now in present day and the college has reopened, and there are some mysterious things going on, and our two female main characters kind of get pulled into that. There is a little bit of a sapphic romance in here as well, but it's not a romance, but there is a kind of romance subplot in here. I feel like there could have been things that were more developed. I would have liked to have seen more of the romance. Obviously, as a romance reader, you know, I would have liked to have seen more of the romance. And also I think the world and the actual what was happening could have been better developed. This was a young adult book and it was reasonably dark, but I feel like if it had been an adult book it could have gone even further, which I would have liked to have seen. Then I read Whispers Most Foul by Emma McDonald, and this is book 1 in the Dunhollow Academy series. I think it's a series or a duet. I gave this one 3 stars, but I do not plan to continue on with the series. This one we are again at another academy. This is Dunhollow Academy, and in this world the characters have magic. And there is a girl that has gone missing at the beginning of the book, and our female main character ends up starting to see ghosts. And whilst there is one missing girl at the beginning of the book, another girl goes missing, and our female main character ends up seeing her ghost and kind of tries to discover what's going on, and unearths, you know, some secrets. And she also struggles with her own magic. She doesn't really have magic at the beginning of the book, and we kind of see why that is. And there is obviously the mystery element as to what's happened to these girls. I thought this one was okay, but I definitely feel the world and magic system could have been definitely developed more. There is a sapphic romance in this one as well that we do start to see. Obviously, for the majority of the book, one of the other characters is kind of like a ghost, or not quite fully there, and I imagine the romance is going to be developed more in book 2, but I didn't enjoy this one enough to want to continue on with book 2, unfortunately, so this one was just an okay read for me. And then the last book I read was The Glittering Edge by Alyssa Villers, and this is book 1 in the Idlewood duet or duology, and I am going to be continuing on with this one. This one follows, it's set in a small town, and there is this these rival families, and there is this curse that is put on one of the families whereby if they fall in love with anyone, that person will end up dead. And we have our 3 main characters, Penny, who is mortal, Alonzo, who is a witch, and Corey, who is the from the family who the curse is on. And Alonzo is from the family that set the curse, and they work to kind of break the curse because Penny's mother ends up getting being a victim of the curse and ends up in a coma, and they are trying to discover how they can break the curse, what's going on, and this one does end on a cliffhanger, and I cannot wait to pick up the next one. Unfortunately, I don't think it comes out until May next year, so there's a bit of a wait, but I did have a good time with this one and I would definitely recommend it. So they are all of the books that I have read in the month of October, or the second half of October. Please let me know what your favourite was from the month, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.